What is the rudest thing a waiter has ever said to you? I have a friend who is a trans guy. Before he started taking the testosterone shots, it was pretty hard to tell if he was a butch lesbian or a 14-year-old boy. So, we sit down at a table, and our waiter walks over and says, "Hello, ladies, gentlemen, the two of you." No offense was meant or taken, so we had a good laugh over it. My mom went on a tour of the Coors factory in Golden, Colorado several years back. At the end of the tour, they give you free samples of beer. When asked what she wanted, without even thinking, she asked for a Miller Lite. He gave her a dirty look, filled the glass up halfway with water and halfway with beer, slammed it down, and called her a bitch. True story. That's actually pretty freaking hilarious. I don't know what's funnier, what the waiter did or that Coors is trying to protect its reputation for having beer that doesn't taste like piss. Is she sure it was water and not Coors Light? If it were Coors, he'd have unzipped his pants prior to filling the cup. I'm the nightlife coordinator for Caesar Entertainment in AC, so most of the managers and higher-ups know me. However, unless I'm at one of the nightclubs, the employees usually don't know me. I went to eat at one of new restaurants with a bachelorette party and decided to wait for them by the bar. I order a drink, and about 5 minutes later a bartender walks over to me and says I need to move because I'm sitting there with one drink, and she could be getting other customers. Mind you, it's a sit-down bar, and she singled me out. "I'm waiting for some friends." "I don't give a fuck, you're sitting here alone with one drink. I have more important groups I could be waiting on. Move. Tell you what, get your manager to make me move and I'll gladly step away." It's at this point she grabs 2 security guards and the manager, all of whom know me very well. "I told him to get the fuck up and move, and he told me he's not going to unless you tell him." The manager. "Probably because he could fire me. That's nightlife coordinator for the 4 properties." Her. "What?" Me to her. "You're fired." I'm surprised you didn't question the manager on how he was running the place. The girl brought him out and told him the same thing she told you. Imagine if you were some random guy. What would have happened? The girl was obviously comfortable enough with the manager to assume he'd side with her and get you moved or kicked out. I'd definitely be asking my manager if it was common for staff to do that to customers and if the manager has been allowing it. I had a few words with him about it. He said how he never condoned that behavior or anything like that. To his credit, that was the only rude person I've dealt with at that restaurant. The rest of the staff will cut off their hand if you ask them. Wasn't said to me, but was said about me. I went to a restaurant where my best friend from college is one of the chefs, and the waitress unknowingly talked shit about me to her. I was in Kansas City at this too-hip little restaurant that consisted of little more than a bar, a stage for the jazz band, and a few tables. I was in from out of town visiting friends from college, and was sitting at the bar with them for about an hour waiting for a table to open up. When one finally did, the waitress came over to get us more drinks and talk about the menu, which was all prix, on which all of the items were based around meat. I'm a fairly strict vegetarian, so I'd had my reservations about going to the restaurant in the first place. I told the waitress very politely that I was vegetarian, and if they couldn't make me anything, I was perfectly happy to just nurse my martini for the rest of the night. About 15 minutes later, one of the chefs came out and sat down at the table. The first words out of her mouth were, "So one of the waitresses came in to tell me that some dorky-looking faggot wanted us to make him a fucking vegetarian meal. And what did you say to her?" I replied. "Well, first I told her to not call my best friend a faggot." While looking at a drink menu, the waiter asked, "Are you sure you can afford that?" "I sure can." "The tip?" "Not so much." Boom, headshot. Boom, spitting in your food. When I was a kid, I worked for a high-end antique dealer in New Orleans. This guy comes in one day, and I went up front to make contact with him because he looked like crap and obviously didn't belong in this business. He was wearing a t-shirt and jeans, unkempt hair, unshaven, about 5 teeth in his mouth. I ask him if I can help him. He tells me in this thick accent that he's looking for a birthday gift for his, about-to-be, 70-year-old mama. I humor him, pull a bunch of stuff out from various cases. I'm basically just trying to get him out of there. The whole time he's mumbling about how he has to get a gift for mama. He finally settles on a $14,000 sterling silver tea service, and asks me where the nearest Bank of America is. I tell him. He tells me he'll be back in a little while. 30 minutes later he comes back in with a $14,000 cashier's check. I rang it up, actually forgot to even charge him tax. I wrap up the service, put it in a box, and he pulls out this wad of $100 bills and hands me 2 of them. Tells me, "Thanks. Most people aren't very nice considering how I look," and he walks out. I visited Italy during high school and had no idea cranberries and cranberry juice was mostly an American thing. I asked a waiter for cranberry juice and he responded with, "And where would I get that from, the moon?" My parents laughed their asses off. Went with a friend and her family to dinner to one of their favorite restaurants. They're white, I'm East Asian. Waiter comes over to take our order, asks everyone what they want, then looks at me and says, "Let me guess, rice?" Big laugh from him, crickets from everyone else. Never went back to that place again. "We don't serve your kind in here," to my black girlfriend at the time. Fuck if I knew that Denny's in Ohio in the 90s was so racist. This one happened about 3 days ago, so perfect timing. A friend and I went to an ale house, where we've been a few times before, and got a server who had waited on us before. He seemed nice enough, until he came over and dropped this bomb. "God, it's hot in here. I'm sweating like a nigger at a clan meeting." Whoa. How is that an okay thing to say at a table? Once at a Chinese restaurant, the waiter yelled at me for only leaving a 10% tip. I usually give at least 15% for average service, but this was beyond bad. He refused to let us order some items because we wouldn't like them. He never brought out utensils, or napkins, or water. Then he brought out the wrong food and brought the bill unprompted. 10% was fucking generous. At a Thai place, the waiter told me I couldn't handle a dish because it was too spicy for a white person. I ordered it anyway, and it was obvious he asked for a mild version. When I asked why, he repeated that I was too white. Actually, I've tried getting that dish full strength, but every time I try they either refuse or secretly make it mild. And yes, I know it should be spicier because a friend of mine works there. In defense of the too white thing, I've gotten the actual spicy food thinking it would be spicy like Mexican. I choked down half of it, and got the rest to go. The waiter could surely tell that I was in pain, because I was sweating, my face was red and my nose was running. This or returned food is probably the result more often than your case, so the waiters may learn to avoid giving Whitey the good stuff. And yes, I ate the rest of it. Because I'm a man, damn it. This also happened to me, when I was in Boston. I'm Mexican and mistakenly thought I could handle it. The waiter stopped refilling my water and just kindly placed an entire pitcher of water next to me, and even a big piece of bread for free. On the bright side, it completely cured my hangover. I was a waiter for a long time. I made decent money and liked working nights and being around people and staying in motion. But it takes a certain type to enjoy the work and do it well. I learned most of what I know about waiting tables from an older guy who took me under his wing when I got my first server job. It was a really nice, expensive restaurant, and new servers were expected to backwaiter for a few weeks before they were trusted enough to take tables themselves. So I was backwaitering for this guy, who I'll call M, and this happened. Party of 8 couples, celebrating something. Not a birthday, not an anniversary. Probably business guys closed the deal and taking the wives out for a night on the town. Cocktails flow. Appetizers disappear. Finally M is making the rounds, taking orders. He's already discussed the night's specials in detail, already sold a couple of $40 plus entrees. He gets to the loud guy. This guy has a few drinks in him and much to the chagrin of his visibly embarrassed wife has decided to impress everyone with how awesome and knowledgeable he is. So of course he asks M to repeat all the specials. M does. Dude starts drilling down to specific ingredients, even asking what kind of herbs are in the béarnaise sauce. It's tarragon, moron, it's a fucking béarnaise sauce. Now, this is at 8 p.m. on a Friday night. M and I have 3 other tables of 4 already seated. I'm doing what I can, but M is trapped at this 8 top. Loud guy keeps asking stupid questions and wanting to chat. Finally M says, "Sir? I'm sorry, but I have other tables that need my attention. May I take your order?" Loud guy freaks. "How rude, blah blah blah." M looks at him and says, "I'm sorry, sir. I didn't realize I was here to entertain you." And then he starts dancing. Like John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever disco moves. He boogies around the whole table, says to me, "Get this guy's order," and pelvic thrusts his way back to the kitchen, leaving the 8 top speechless. The guy ordered a steak. Medium well. A-hole. My brother and I were both adopted from Korea and my parents are straight up white. When I was 8, brother was about 11, we went to an Italian restaurant and the waiter was literally yelling at us like we couldn't speak English. My dad is very conservative, laid-back kind of guy. He looks the bitch in the eye and says, "Shit, racist enough? That's my daughter you're yelling at who reads English at a college level, can speak it and understand it just fine without you yelling in her ear, thanks. You can tone it down." Yeah, our meal was free. About a week ago I ordered way too much food in an Italian restaurant and thought that I'd put the leftovers in a box to give to my 2 dogs. After a while of trying to catch the waiter's attention, I decided to get up and approach him. The conversation went like this. Me, "Hey, I've got 2 dogs and wanted to get a B." Waiter, "I don't give FECK." He leaves. Who is your least favorite coworker? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.